You're listening to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast, episode 13.
Welcome to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast with Jacob Ayers, providing actionable content to help you along your journey to financial freedom through real estate investing. As the premier asset class, real estate has helped ordinary people just like you amass fortunes. The benefits of passive income from real estate investing will allow you to live a life you want. And now your host, entrepreneur, real estate investor, and apartment deal syndicator, Jacob Ayers.
Hi, and welcome to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast. This is your host, Jacob Ayers. Today we're going to be talking about getting started in real estate investing through small multifamily properties and building a lifestyle around passive income. Our guest is Nathan Allen. Nathan is a real estate investor and adventurer extraordinaire. Nathan's currently wrapping up a 2-year trip where he's taken a motorcycle from the U.S. to Patagonia in the southern tip of South America. Nathan is currently making his way back to the United States, and he's in a remote location in Patagonia where he recorded this episode. There is a little bit of static on the line for the first just couple minutes, so bear with me through that, and I know you'll enjoy the episode. Today I welcome on the show, Nathan.
Hey, Jacob. Thanks for having me, buddy. I appreciate it. It's great to finally get to catch up.
Absolutely, Nathan. So we understand you're traveling South America right now. Could you introduce yourself a little more and talk about what's going on right now?
Yeah, sure, Jacob. Thanks, buddy. I've been traveling via motorcycle through Central and South America for about the last 23 months now, and my goal was to make it down to Argentina, the southernmost city of the world, which is called Ushuaia in Tierra del Fuego. And it took a little longer than what I actually thought. The plan was to get down here in about a year, and it took me a little closer to, maybe a year and a half or 2 years, something like that. I'm still currently in Patagonia in Argentina right now, and I'm going to ride a little bit farther north and maybe sell the motorcycle to another traveler and come home and look for the next property.
Wow, that's awesome, Nathan. It's cool that you're getting to do something that some people could only dream of, so it's really cool.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So, Nate, tell us how you got started in real estate investing and what drew you to real estate in the first place.
Well, I guess you have to go back until when I was about 15. I'm 29 now. When I was 15, I kind of saw where my other older friends were going in life, and they were graduating high school and going to college, and this was something that didn't really appeal to me. I'm not much of a college-minded person, and I started asking around and doing a little research, and my dad, he mentioned something about a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I thought, man, okay, well, I'm not much of a reader, give it a go. And to this day, I can say that's the one book that it changed my life. Like, I read it front to back, and then I put it down, I kind of thought about it, and after about 2 or 3 months, I read it again. And it just made a lot of sense. It talked kind of about like how you can be an employee or an employer and the different ways to kind of think about life and money. And he talked a lot about real estate, not really like in detail, but more of a vehicle. And so I started doing more research on real estate and learning more about it. For me, I knew I didn't want to go to college, so I decided I was going to graduate early from high school and go to school to be an aircraft mechanic, which is what I did. I took 2 years, and I got my airframe and power plant license. And about the time when I was 18, when I would have graduated high school, I graduated A&P school and went to go work for the airlines up in Oklahoma City. When I was in Oklahoma City, it was funny. When I went up there in the beginning, I started working at a Jiffy Lube until I could start working for the airlines, and it took about a month. So I went from working at a grocery store where you made about $5 an hour to Jiffy Lube where you made about, $10 an hour. And I was like, oh, man, I'm doing it now. I'm killing it. Because, A, I'm doing something I enjoy, working with my hands and being a mechanic. But B, it was crazy. Like, I doubled my income, and I didn't really think about, like, moving to the city was more expensive than living in the country and this, that, and the other. And then I went to go work for the airlines. And then I made, I think it was like $14 an hour. But still, at the time I was 18, I was thinking, man, I'm doing it. This is it. This is killing it. But then I remembered back to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and like he always said something to the effect of, "You'll never get wealthy if you work for others." And I think that's very true. Like what I looked at was like the dollars an hour were basically like paying you to not chase your dreams. So what I decided to do was go chase my dreams. I wanted to replace my income from working as an aircraft mechanic and basically do that through real estate. So I started hunting for houses there in Oklahoma City. And I guess one of the things that was kind of difficult for me was I never could wrap my mind around buying a single-family house. And I guess you could rent out the rooms, or you could figure out another way to like rent out the house and figure out somewhere else to live. But then I found out about these cool things called quadplexes. And I'm thinking, man, this makes so much sense. I can live in one and then rent out the other three, and I have a free place to live, or maybe close to free. So that was the big beginning for me.
Yeah, you're right. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a fantastic book. I recommend it to just everyone. It's one of those books that's impacted a lot of people, and it really changed my perspective on things when I read it. So, phenomenal book. I couldn't recommend it enough. So, talking about fourplexes. Fourplexes are just an absolutely great vehicle for getting started in real estate investing. With a fourplex, you can use a residential loan and get a low down payment, so the price point to get into a fourplex is very appealing. And then, like you said, you could potentially live in one unit and still cash flow through that property, so just a phenomenal investment vehicle. So Nathan, you've got a fourplex in Oklahoma City. Have you been looking for other properties while you've been traveling, or just have that one property? And can you talk about what you're going to be doing when you get back to the States?
Well, for me, when I left for this trip, my goal was to use passive income to kind of pay me to go chase my dream. And my dream, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a traveler. That's what I love to do. I want to learn about culture. I want to learn about food. I want to learn about history. I want to learn about society. So when I left, I really kind of left with the intent of not focusing on real estate or work or anything of that nature. And I guess I can say that mission's kind of been a total and complete success. But now here we are, 23 months down the road, and I'm kind of like, well, it's been great. I got to see so much and learn so much, and I met so many great friends here on the road. Now I'm kind of thinking, okay, I need to flip the switch. I need to go back into, business mode more than anything else, for lack of a better term. And right. For me, I guess my plan now is to go large-scale multifamily. Like, I love quadplexes. I think if you're going to buy into real estate and you don't have the money to get into commercial right off the bat, I cannot stress enough quadplexes. Like, you get the best of the both worlds. Like you mentioned, you get like the low down payment, so your barrier to entry is really, really low. Like, when I was 19, I bought my quadplex. Granted, I was working for the airlines and I was making a little bit of money, but I wasn't like balling out of control by any stretch of the imagination. I worked right. A lot of overtime, but I mean, you only have to put 3.5% down. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I could live in that apartment for less than what it costs to rent one of those apartments for any of the people that were actually there or anyone else in that area. So I guess for me, my next goal now is to find something around 100-unit apartment complex that needs a lot of TLC, a nice turnaround. And I guess really more than that, like, I'm trying to wrap my mind around the goal after that. Like, you climb one mountain, it's easy to see the next mountain. So for me, my mountain was to gain passive income to replace my full-time income from working as an aircraft mechanic in the States. Once you kind of get to that level, for me, that was the impetus for me to go take this trip, to go enjoy. I worked hard. I sacrificed for many years. It took me until I was age 27. So that was, give or take, like 7 or 8 years of my life that I really dedicated a lot of time, energy, and effort. But once I kind of got over the hurdles, you kind of get that light at the end of the tunnel, and I figured I wanted to enjoy the fruits of the labor. Like, I figured if I traveled even until I was 30, I still have a good chunk of my life left to do other stuff. So now here we are. I'm turning 30 this year, and I think it's time to get back home and write the next chapter of life.
Haha, good deal. So could you talk a little bit about how your mentality progressed, going from this 4-unit to wanting to come back and look for 100-plus unit apartment complexes? A lot of people, do things in incremental progressions, or maybe, look at a smaller property starting out. And I've made that mistake in the past, almost thinking too small. So how have you kind of managed fear and just kind of trying to think a lot larger?
It's really, for me, it's kind of funny because at the time when I was 19, I thought like 4 units. Holy crap, man. Like, what am I going to do? This is crazy. This is a huge amount of money. This is a huge amount of responsibility. And I'm thinking like, man, like I should be out like partying and getting wild and I don't know, doing 19-year-old stuff. And now here I am buying an apartment building and kind of strapping on a huge amount of stress and worry. But at the same time, I also saw if you do what other people aren't doing, you're going to get different results. And I think the more different that you can do it, the better off you'll be. So I guess to scale from like 4 units to 100 units in my mind, it really kind of comes from the concept of I don't know how to do anything like half-mast. I'm kind of full throttle or I'm not doing it. And for me right now, like the biggest I can see is 100 units. That's pretty daunting. That's a lot of time and energy and effort. And, I mean, at that point, you have to bring on at least full-time staff to help you maintain the property, help you manage the property. And those things, those don't really scare me. Those actually excite me because I feel like I'd be able to help me add so much value to the people that live there because I want to really make the property something special where people have a sense of community more than just a normal, oh, it's safe and clean and efficient. I want it to be like a real family. And I guess one of the things that kind of helped me get to that point was seeing me buy my 4 units. Like, in the beginning, it was really kind of difficult, but after about a year or so, I'm like, well, this really isn't that hard. You get some tenants in here, and you paint some walls, hire some stuff out if something really breaks and you don't know what you're doing. And then I kind of saw other people through like different social network groups, just like RIAs, maybe like social gatherings, different galas and stuff around the city. And I met a couple other people that were buying much bigger stuff. And I'm thinking, man, these guys are really killing it. And I met a lot of cool guys that were really like connecting more than just like real estate and business, but just good people, good salt of the earth, good heart, a lot of love, and kind of same idea for life. And I thought, man, if those guys are able to do it, well, I mean, surely I could. And I guess that's kind of where we went in that direction. Like before I left on this trip, that was kind of where my thought process was buy something big or go home. And, well, I couldn't buy something big, so instead of going home, I made new homes in different countries.
There you go. Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with it. It kind of starts out with mentality, right? You have to think big and change your perspective on things and, adjust your mindset to your goals. And before you know it, you've kind of achieved those, and you look back and you think, wow, I did that. What's next, right? So, yeah, I think it's just starting out with mindset and, having the right perspective on things.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's the right word, perspective. That's definitely the right choice of word.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've looked into your Blue Alamo property, which we talked a little bit about offline. It's a fourplex in Oklahoma City. It's a really, really cool property, and if you think Blue Alamo in your head, you really hit the nail on the head because it looks like the Blue Alamo. So would you take a minute and kind of talk about how you bought that? I know you said you bought that when you're 19. You've had it for, going on 7 or 8 years now. You did some refurbishings to it, that is. What'd that deal look like when you bought it, and how's it looking now?
Sure. So I guess when I was 19, I was really kind of driving around Oklahoma City, and at the time I was renting a room in a house. It was a really nice house, and the guy gave me a great deal on the room. He just kind of wanted some extra money and someone to help take care of his dog, so it was really kind of a blessing in disguise because I moved in, and the guy said, I'll probably have the room available for like 6 to 9 months, something like that. But I'll give you enough time to find somewhere else. Like, I'm just kind of in a transition period. I'm about to get married and sell this house. Okay, cool. So I knew I had at least 6 months to kind of figure out what I wanted to buy and where I was going to buy. And I was driving around Oklahoma City usually 5 times a week, because at this time I was working at one of the airlines there at the Will Rogers Airport. and I worked second shift, which was, I think, 3 till midnight or 2 in the morning, something like that. But before I went to work every day, I tried to take advantage and drive a different way every day to work and try to go down different neighborhoods and different alleys and really kind of get a feel for what was going on. And I guess it took me about 4 or 5 months, and I kind of stumbled on what's known as the Plaza District. And I was just kind of driving around, and for me, I kind of felt like it was my area, like it was a cool place kind of on the rising tide, I guess, for lack of a better word, because at that time, it really wasn't a great area. I mean, it was not considered uncommon to buy, like, I don't know, maybe hookers or meth on a Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. But I saw potential where they could actually kind of come in and remake this into a better place. And there was already kind of parts of it that were put together. In my mind, I saw the streets on 16th Street were already paved. I saw they put in nice sidewalks with cast iron street lamps, and they were very beautiful. I'm thinking, man, Oklahoma City's putting a fair amount of money here. And also the business owners in that particular district, they were putting a huge amount of time, energy, and effort to beautify and paint and clean and bring new businesses in. And this is in, I guess, 2007. And this is kind of like the height of the crisis, and it was pretty tough going, I guess, because when I found the property, like I had been scouring that area, and I knew I wanted to be in that Plaza District because I could ride the wave and kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, surf it. When I was looking at this properties, I knew, like, quadplex. I got to find a quadplex. This is really, really, like, crucial. Maybe even a triplex. I don't want a duplex, but at least with a duplex, you still have some of the economy of scale. So as I found a fourplex, it actually happened to be right on 16th where they just paved and put in these sidewalks. I didn't even think about it. I looked at a lot of other properties in a lot of different areas over that 6 months I was driving around Oklahoma City. I called the realtor that had the property. I said, hey, what do they want for the place? Okay, boom, boom, boom. We signed the paperwork the next day on my way to work. I put it under contract, and I was like, all right, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out. This is not the first time anyone's ever done this. It's not rocket science. It's not even rocket surgery. So, well, I guess
you would know that about it.
Yeah, well, there's that too. Being an aircraft mechanic does come in handy, but not so much for that side of the equation. But yeah, I guess really we put the contract under the Blue Alamo. I bought it from out-of-state investors. They had bought it for quite a bit less than what I was buying it for, but they also kind of did some updating and maybe not like a full rehab, but they definitely made the apartments livable, because when I saw pictures before they bought it, it was pretty rough, and it was still not a cherry place at that point either. But I figured I could move in. It's pretty turnkey. There's already tenants in place. So I guess we'll fast forward about 3 months, closed on the building. Everything went well. And really, at the end of the day, I lost 2 of my tenants in the first week. They were Section 8, and I don't have anything against Section 8. I think it's great. I see a lot of guys that do really, really well with it, but this has just been my experience. It's a lot more work, and these guys weren't really screened very well. So the police broke in the front door of the building, and then they broke in the front door of one of the apartments, and they arrested one of the tenants that happened to sell methamphetamine out of the bottom unit. And I'm thinking, I got a call at 9 in the morning saying, hey, we just arrested your tenant, blah, blah, blah. We wanted you to be aware that your property is no longer secure. We had to break open the door. And I'm thinking, why didn't you just call me 10 minutes before? I could have let you in. I had keys. It's okay. But that's all right. So after repairing the door and the other door to the actual front of the building, the next week I had to evict another tenant for their share of the prorated rent, which was, I don't know, something like $20 or $30. And I've quickly learned this is not what success looks like. So I really started to get a bit more strict with tenant screening. And my inherited tenants all slowly kind of vacated, and then I got I guess, more preferable tenants, more like stable, had a job, better credit score, stuff like this. And that was a learning process. And really that took me like the first year or maybe 2 years to kind of get that through my thick skull. But once I learned it, it was a lesson well learned.
Yeah, right. So how are you managing that deal now, being out of the country?
Sure. So I was managing it myself in the beginning. And then I left to go contract different jobs in the United States as an aircraft mechanic, and I would hire different management companies. And I went through 3 of them in 2 years. I lost about $60,000 and found out property management's really, really important. So I moved back home and kind of got the place up and going. And I was working at Tinker Air Force Base for about a year. And I kind of got the place more managed, more level. We had better tenants. We kind of fixed some issues that were underlying issues that just kind of came up throughout the years. And I went overseas to go work as an aircraft mechanic with the military. And at that point, I figured I don't want to have someone that's not going to be able to manage the property very well. So I made mistake number 1,000, hiring family, and that didn't work out so well, having my family run the property. But I guess it was a lesson well learned. You really have to find someone that knows what they're doing and has systems in place. And luckily, when I took this trip, I took my time. I did a lot of research, and I talked to a lot of management companies, and I kind of interviewed them more than they interviewed me, I guess. And it really worked out well. We found a great property management people, and they have a really well machine like systems put together. And I think that's really, really, really crucial. And at the point you can put systems in place, it can take you out of place. So like the last 2 years that I've been gone, usually once a month I get an email, or I don't really have a way to make phone calls down here because cell phones don't really work most of the time because we're in the middle of nowhere. But also email's just more convenient because you can get back and forth to them easier. And I kind of, if there's any issues, they get with me, and we have like a set amount of money. If something breaks and it's $500, okay. And if it's more than $500, email me, and we'll get kind of brainstorm together and see what we need to do. But really, at the end of the day, like proper management, it goes a long, long way in any business. It doesn't matter if it's real estate or anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. So a couple things. I mean, you've recognized the opportunity just driving through that neighborhood or driving through different parts of the neighborhood every day. You kind of realized, hey, this place is up and coming. No one's buying here. What's the deal? You know, you can really see that the city's pouring money into it. So, I mean, you took advantage of an opportunity, took on a little risk, and, you kind of learned as you go, which is really the name of the game. You can't really wait until you know everything because you'll never get started if that's the case. So two really kudos there. Great jobs on those. And then one thing I've always advocated and been taught that building your team is one of the most important things of real estate investing. So, I'm always preaching, build your team, surround yourself with like-minded people who know more about real estate investing than you, and that kind of goes without saying. You need a good property manager, So you've realized that it's a very crucial part of the wheel, and yeah, you can really make or break a deal with your property management company. So, yeah,
absolutely.
Great stuff. So you're doing all this. Obviously you've got some passions of your own outside of real estate investing. What are your reasons why? Why are you doing what you're doing and investing in real estate and trying to build wealth through real estate investing?
Well, I guess that at the end of the day, your why is the most important reason, because that's what's going to make you wake up early. That's what's going to make you stay late. That's what's going to make you bleed on it. And I think if you don't have a big why, it really is difficult to do anything. And it doesn't matter if it's like with real estate, with physical health, with mental health, it's all the same. You have to have a why. And for me, my why was I knew I wasn't good at being an employee. I knew that I couldn't do that my entire life. I knew I could do it for a while. The kind of idea, like one of the big, I guess, mentors, for lack of a better word, is Dave Ramsey. I read a lot of his books, and I dig a lot of his philosophies, and he says all the time, live like no one else so later you can live like no one else. And that was what was going through my mind was, I want to have time freedom. That to me is wealth. It's not having a Lamborghini and Maserati. I mean, I love these cars and they're beautiful, but that to me doesn't bring me any more joy than driving. I don't know. I have an old car that gets me A to B, and it doesn't matter to me because it gets me A to B. And I guess at the end of the day, the why for me was time freedom. Is the juice worth the squeeze? And for me, I saw real estate being worth the squeeze because I saw a lot of friends when I was quite a bit younger kind of investing in stock markets and stuff like this. And they lost money, they made money. But when they made money, which was not very often, but when they actually did, they had to pay taxes on it. And there's no way to really shelter taxes on it. And when I looked at real estate as a investment opportunity, I saw, wow, okay, well, not only do you have benefits of actually having a real tangible asset, but you also have tax advantages, and you don't have to pay money on the money that you make, and you have ways of depreciating the asset that's not actually depreciating. It's all paper-based. So when I was seeing that, I was kind of really dead set. Okay, real estate's the right way for me, and I see a lot of advantages on that. And I guess get back to the why. It was time freedom, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's really what it's all about, the ability to do what you want, when you want, and where you want. And it resonates with me really well. You know, sometimes you get caught up in the intricacies of property management and vacancies and analysis and looking for other properties. You kind of have to take a step back and think, well, why are you doing this to begin with? And when I am lacking motivation, or every so often, I'll write down my list of reasons why and revisit those, and sometimes change them, and just kind of keeps me motivated and kind of eye on the prize. So really good stuff. And I think you're a living proof that real estate can do amazing things for you. I mean, you're traveling South America on a motorcycle, just being an adventurous guy. So that's really awesome. It's good stuff. And at the end of the day, you got to have something like that drives you. So really good. All right, so that's pretty much it. We're going to start wrapping up. We've got a lightning round, a series of 6 questions. I'm just going to kind of shoot at you, and you just kind of answer from the hip. How's that sound?
Awesome. Love it. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So what was your biggest hurdle getting started in real estate investing, and how did you overcome it?
Biggest hurdle? To be honest with you, I hear a lot of people's biggest hurdle is scare of the unknown or something like this. My biggest hurdle wasn't scare of the unknown. It was more, where do I want to invest? Because you can change a lot of things about real estate, but like the old motto, location, location, location. And for me, that was something I really, really struggled with. But with time, I got more comfortable with the areas that I want to invest, and I started kind of like a funnel. I went down from the whole Oklahoma City area, funneled down to smaller neighborhoods, and then from the smaller neighborhoods, I went down to the actual streets I wanted to invest on in those neighborhoods. And then from there, I just went and bought what I wanted, and that was really the biggest part. I guess the best way to say, how did I overcome that, was I systematized it. I broke it down into little bites, and they say, inch by inch it's a cinch, mile by mile it's a trial, and I just broke it down into small, bite-sized portions. And every day I was driving to work, I went to a different neighborhood or a different street of that different neighborhood, and I really just drove for dollars, for lack of a better words, because that was the way I looked at it. Was even though it took an extra hour or 30 minutes or whatever to get to work, this is time farther down the road that is going to really allow me to do what I want to do instead of what I have to do.
Yeah, right. Great. Okay, so if you were starting over with no education or capital, how would you start investing in real estate?
Well, that was kind of where I started in the first place. But if I was going to redo it, I would definitely try to get invested with more of the community, like with the RIAs, the different real estate groups. There's a lot of things on things called MeetUp.com. It's an app. I had no idea about this. I don't even know if it was a thing really in 2006, 2007 when I was getting started in this game. But now, here in 2016, 2017, you go on meetup.com and there's 10 meetup groups for any kind of anything you're interested in. Walking, real estate.
Right.
It's a really, really cool way to meet like-minded people. And you're going to meet people across the board, like guys that are thinking about getting into real estate and gals that have been in the game for 20 years and had 235 houses, or vice versa, apartment buildings, or let's say commercial space like office or storage. It's amazing, these things that are available now. And I think that's really what I would do, is just really try to plug into the community, get talking with people, see what they're doing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just need to maybe take the wheel that they have and make it your own.
Right, absolutely. Fantastic. You almost hit the next question, which is share an internet resource like BiggerPockets or MeetUp that you can share with your listeners. One of your favorite internet resources.
I've been on BiggerPockets a couple of times. It's a pretty cool place. That's actually where we connected, I believe. And
yeah, that's right.
I was just kind of on there talking with some people, meeting people. It's a really cool resource. I listen to the podcast quite a bit because, to me, I'm a audio learner. I can read as well, but I don't seem to get the same information as if someone's talking to me, like a teacher or a professor or something. And when you listen to a podcast, that's kind of what it is for me. There's a really good podcast I've enjoyed. It's by Kevin Bupp, and it's called Investing for Cash Flow Real Estate. He also has one for mobile home parks. It's tremendous value. It's really good information. I've talked with him several times on the phone. He's a great guy, big heart, and I think that when you kind of put in your mind that other people are doing this, it's easier for you to realize that it is doable.
Yeah, all about perspective, right?
Sure.
All right, and can you share a personal habit that contributes to your success?
Yeah, I can do that. Personal habit, for me, I really and truly believe this, is determination. I don't know of another habit that I have that is beneficial. Like, I'm not overly intelligent. I'm not overly clever. I'm not any of these things. But I am incredibly determined. Like, if I decide I'm going to do something, it will get done. I don't know how it's going to get done. I just know it's going to. And for me, a lot of times what that is I wake up in the morning and I practice visualization. I visualize what my life looks like. I visualize what it looks like getting there. For me, it's starting with the end in mind and working backwards. And I visualize each step of that journey. And it's so clear, it's vivid. Like, for me, to say I'm going to go home and buy this or that or whatever, it's not beyond the realm of capability because I already visualize it in my mind. I'm actually visualizing what I'm doing after that, which is really what gets me excited.
Yes, great. Very, very good. Good points. All right, what book would you recommend to the listeners and why? I know you mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you have any others, or that could be it.
No, I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad's a great one. Like, if you're going to read one book, read that one. If you want to read a couple more, some of them that I really, really enjoy, 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss. I read that every year along with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I try to do it at least once a year to kind of keep the concepts fresh in my mind. There's another book by, I think, Richard Carlson. Forget the author, but it's called Richest Man in Babylon. And I think It's actually in the free sector now because it's so old. It was written a long time ago, but, I mean, it's still the same principles. Like, Babylon was the first society to use money, and what worked then works now. And the whole idea from that book is pay yourself first. And I absolutely believe that, because when I went from working Jiffy Lube to the airlines and the different aviation jobs, no one was paying themselves first. Not one person that I know of. And I don't know of anyone else traveling South America on a motorcycle. I do know most of them are still working and plugging along, and that's great because that's what they want to do, but it's just a different lifestyle choice for me.
Right. Great stuff. If you were to give advice to your 20-year-old self to get started in real estate investing, what would it be?
You know, this is something I get quite a bit because on BiggerPockets and different groups that I go to while I'm actually at home in the city, a lot of young guys kind of come to me and talk to me because I guess, you know, I'm a young dude and I'm kind of doing my thing and they are too. And I try to tell them the same thing. If you're going to get started, start with your end in mind, because so many people, I think, they don't start with the end in mind. They just get shiny object syndrome and they go with whatever. They don't have processes. They don't have ideals. They just see deals. They, a single family house, or a raw plot of land, or blah, blah, blah. And they get so sidetracked from what they actually wanted. They never actually get what they intended to get. And I guess for me is start with the end in mind. That I think is so crucial because you can work your way backwards. And when you know where you want to go, you kind of have an idea. You need blinders. I don't think that you can get anywhere by being great at everything. You need to be great at a few things and then let everyone else take care of everything else. And, yeah, that's kind of my general thought process on life as a whole.
Yeah, great. I've certainly been there, being distracted and sidetracked by everything out there. And what's the saying? If you have no destination, any path will get you there. So you've got to really be focused on what you want, or you'll be looking at raw land in South Texas and high-rise buildings in Sacramento, Florida, and trailer parks here and single-family houses there. So, I mean, you're really right. You have to have vision and focus, and kind of what your end goal really is the most important thing. So very, very good points. All right, Nate, well, we're going to wrap up with that. We'd like to end with you kind of giving us any parting advice you have or any last words. We certainly appreciate your time on the show, so thank you for that.
Thank you. I guess for parting advice, the best thing I can come up with is if you want something, don't let anyone tell you can't do it. You can, you will, you just have to work for it. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and I can tell you, personally, from my experience, the juice is worth the squeeze. I think we need more people living an authentic life. And once you start living a life of true authenticity, it becomes so much easier to help other people do the same. And I think dream big, work hard. There's nothing you can't do. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Jacob. I really appreciate you bringing me on the show.
Thank you, Nate. Have a good one. All right. That wraps up our episode today with Nathan Allen. I really enjoyed this episode, and I enjoyed talking with Nathan not only about his real estate investments, but what he's been able to do with his real estate. See, I think building a lifestyle is really what drives me through real estate investing, and Nathan's a great example of doing so. I hope you're receiving value from this show. If you like what you've heard so far, I invite you to let me know by leaving a rating and review. Please subscribe to the show to be notified of future episodes. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact me at www.jacobayers.com or email me at info@jacobayers.com. Until next time, signing off, I'm your host, Jacob Ayers.
You've been listening to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast, providing you actionable content to build your real estate empire. Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for personal advice. The opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have a potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom, LLC, exclusively.